I love doing the analogy between like chess and Siege. I'm a chess enthusiast, I'm a Siege fan. I think every round of Siege is different.
It's that first clutch, that first feeling, that first time diffuser's down, you've got about 30 seconds to react.
Shuts down his brother!
There's no other game like it. This level of competitive, strategic team play, I think it gives the players some adrenaline that they cannot find in any other games.
In 2015, Rainbow Six Siege had a lot working against it. As the video game industry moved away from single-player experiences, despite the grievances of fans, a series that was known for its memorable campaigns was also following that trend. Ubisoft had shifted away from the campaign-focused Rainbow Six Patriots to go in that new direction, and this new multiplayer-only game did not resemble the Rainbow Six that fans knew and loved.
Not only were players just really accustomed to those amazing co-op campaigns, but we as devs were too. It was a huge risk that really paid off, and to see it kind of at this level that I don't think anybody originally working on the game could think it could get this big. It is really rewarding to see that. The players gravitating to the game now, understanding that actually PvP is a great home for Rainbow Six, and that absolutely wasn't the case 10 years ago.
Yes, Rainbow Six Siege has survived 10 years of some of the most tumultuous times the gaming industry has ever seen. New trends, new genres, new competitors, and countless cancellations, a number of which came from Siege's own publisher, Ubisoft. Even the company's successful games reached a point where they were eventually sunset or made irrelevant by a sequel. So how did Rainbow Six Siege get here? And how does it continue to defy the odds to survive an industry that is always looking for that new thing? We at GameSpot needed to know, so on the back of Siege's 10-year anniversary and the release of Siege X, we flew to Canada to visit the developer Ubisoft Montreal and find out. One of the first things we saw at Ubisoft Montreal was the Wall of Operations. Each and every one is there, displaying that season's operators proudly. Despite releasing with zero new content, Operation Health was present with equal representation. And it was clear after talking to the people of Ubisoft Montreal that the team still feels the positive reinforcements made possible by that fateful operation. Early on, Rainbow Six Siege had gotten a lot right and had set up a solid roadmap of new content every 3 months, which wasn't common at the time. However, the original team had difficulty managing those regular content drops while maintaining the overall health of the game. Ubisoft Montreal needed to take a risk and delay a season's worth of content to address the problems under the hood. At a time when regular scheduled content was crucial to ensure a community remains engaged, this was a risk, but one the team felt they needed to take if Siege was to have a future.
It was kind of a mea culpa of, we know we need to fix things in the game, so we need to take the time to do it. And honestly, like talking to the community, looking back now, it's seen as a huge positive. Whereas that wasn't the truth during the time of Operation Health. It was this admittance that we need to do better.
That kind of legacy of Operation Health carries through. There's actually dedicated production time every single season slotted specifically for the health of the game. So it's like, yeah, we'll be shipping a whole bunch of features, and it's like, yeah, we could sneak these ones in if we do this. It's like, yeah, if we do that though, we don't get the health test done. And it's like, that's really important, and we need to be responsible about that. And that's why sometimes like it's a little bit more reserved to do it that way, but that's how you respect the health of the game and keep that as like something always in the back of your head.
Taking a step back and saying we need to revisit a number of our systems, our core systems. We need to refactor them. We need to think about a new strategy. Matchmaking system was one of the systems that was overhauled during Operation Health. And there's a lot of benefits that we've had during that time that we still are benefiting from today. Crossplay is a great example of that, building on top of those systems that were redone in Operation Health.
Of course, Operation Health was just one frame on that wall of operations, an impressive tribute to 10 years of Siege. Each one is like a stepping stone in the game's growth over the years, adding new operators that evolve Siege's tactical variety and increase its strategic depth. And in Siege's early years, no game evolved as quickly or as often, thanks to the release of 8 operators a year. New gadgets and abilities being added on a regular basis meant there were always new things to consider, which in turn kept Siege fresh and the community engaged. Above all else, new operators were most impactful in longevity. But creating an operator is a huge effort, and knowing just how complex they are, we had to know how the team approaches creating these characters.
Sometimes there's like that spark where the team's like, we have this idea, and we actually have what we call the fridge of ideas, where it can come from anywhere, from the team, wherever. And if it's that good, we'll put it in the fridge, see if we can bring it out and make it work. But usually it comes with an objective for gameplay, something that we haven't done before, or something that is actually needed in the game, and we can tell it's needed.
We'll look at a number of different operators and start thinking about, what are we really trying to say with this operator this season? Are we trying to create a counter to shields? Are we trying to create a new way to open a site that's different than our hard breachers?
Azami is an example of, if you can create all of these holes and all of this destruction, what happens if you patch it up? And so that's a character brief where we're like, we need somebody who can really play on this core aspect of Siege.
And of course, the introduction of new maps presents new possibilities that also contribute to Siege's staying power. These playgrounds of destruction and tactical dominance put up new walls for players to blow through and conquer, providing new blueprints to pore over and master.
We start with a theme. It is much easier to design around a theme than to design and then to apply a theme. If we choose a theme, let's say bank, we can look at hundreds of banks, see how their lobbies are made, how their offices are set up. And then from there, we can really start to try and make our own take on it. We can place our office here, and then, okay, we'll have the kitchen there, we'll have stairs connecting them, and we can iterate through that, and it will make sense once the art comes in. We want players to be able to enter a map without feeling like it's impossible to get in. A great example of that is Bank, right? Bank has a gigantic lobby. Once you get into the lobby, it feels scary at first, but then you realize quickly, oh, there's windows, I can have someone watch my back. We tried to balance every room to have a counterplay option. That way, when players approach a map, at first they'll try to get somewhere and be like, oh, I can't approach this, how am I gonna do this? And it becomes like this puzzle-solving race to who finds the best way to approach what. So complexity comes more in the sense of how we kind of give players these puzzles and how they decide to solve it themselves.
Ubisoft Montreal is unique in the industry in that it regularly revisits previously released maps and operators to remix them, keeping them relevant and effective as the game evolves with the times. Unlike many developers, Ubisoft Montreal isn't afraid to shake up even its most beloved maps, if it means a stronger future for both that setting and the game.
One of our big learnings is when we remastered our recruits, which is such an essential kind of beginner tool for us. We learned what's impactful and what's not when we talk about remasters.
Good example is Blackbeard. Blackbeard had limited tweaking and tuning potential. There's only so much that we could have done with the ballistic shield to try to have an impact in the round. The way that the character was meant to be played was just no longer really valid in the way that the meta had unfolded over the years. So taking a step back and having an opportunity to refresh an operator and maybe make that operator extremely powerful, that brings new life into that operator. And one of the ways that we look at remasters is all the different tweaking and tuning potential that we could have with that operator. So that way, if it is underpowered or is overpowered, we have opportunities to kind of bring that operator back in line.
Why maps need to get reworked, it's because the way the players play. You can design a map going, I think it's going to get played this way. And then you give it to 100 million players and they completely play it a different way. So you can live with it for a time, but at certain points you have to go through and, tweak it. A siege map is mathematics. It's navigation and flow, and it's a lot of mathematics. It's a lot of angles. And when you see the influx of the operators over the last 10 years, we don't design for operators, we design for navigation and flow. but certain operators are going to cause maybe some problems in some maps, which is why you have to go through and just massage a little bit.
Do you have any examples of operators that maybe caused some issues with maps that needed to be addressed?
Azami on every single map. Azami is the bane of the level design because you can block angles. There's exploits that come with that. We've had to do a bunch of retrofitting 2 maps where you could, throw the gadget onto a teacup and then it would create a funny plane that you could get up. I've reworked other level designers' maps, and it is, quite cathartic that you can go through and look at it and fix it. You can also bring it up, over time, bring it to a better level of technicality so it works better, runs better, better frame rate, better destruction. So it is nice to be able to revisit old friends, for want of a better term, but you can't just go in and straight rip walls out, although we have in certain cases. You have to be surgical.
And nothing is untouchable, including Siege's most iconic map, House.
It was stressful, keeping the thematics not so hard, kind of playing with the thought that the kids have grown up and whatever else. But it was stressful, like touching anything that's that OG Siege. The community is very passionate. You know that some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. You take the rough with the smooth, the good with the bad.
However, some of Siege's biggest critics are the developers themselves. We got to see this firsthand during one of those midday playtests, and the enthusiasm and knowledge the devs spoke with was extraordinary. They had a laundry list of issues, but you could tell everyone just wanted what was best for Siege. This is something we felt throughout the studio, which we discovered is made up of a lot of people who truly love the game and are committed to its longevity.
That's the first thing I noticed when I joined the team, is just how passionate people are here, and they're all pushing towards the same direction, which is making the best game possible. And that's what keeps us going. It's love for the game.
I started playing the game, I was 18, I'm 28 now. It's been 10 years that Siege is in my life. It's been 10 years that I grow with this game, that I met amazing people with this game.
Being able to see the community enjoy the game that I work on makes me feel so proud. And I've been to a few esports events since then because it's addictive, and I feel the same feeling of pride every time.
We received recently a letter, an invitation to a wedding, all of the dev team, so I think for me that's it's beautiful with Siege. It's all of this community being together. For me personally, it's the maturity, how I grow with the game and keep growing as a professional, but also as a human being, working with passionate people and meeting key actors of a community, content creators and fans around the world.
Over the past decade, players have become attached to their favorite operators not only because of their gadgets and abilities, but also the narratives that breathe life into their personalities and backgrounds.
We are very much a tactical shooter. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. Strategy is everything. But there's one key word that also exists there, which is tactical hero shooter. And that's really what it is, because of the identity, because Ella, Zofia, Thermite, Havana, how Thermite got those burns.
The fantasy of Rainbow is these, best of the best specialists in the world, part of this counterterrorism unit. Beyond that sort of shared skill set and high level, have a specialization, have something unique in terms of their skill set, and also have something unique in terms of their personality and what they bring.
One of the biggest learnings for us was Smoke, the character, has a gas mask, and his ability is he's immune to his own smoke canister. And we're like, well, that's not consistent with other characters. And so we're like, okay, we'll remove it for the character. There was such an uproar from the community, you cannot do this to our boy Smoke, that immediately we knew we had to revert it. And that characteristics like that matter to people. Things that make characters unique matter.
And what's amazing about Siege is we get there not only with narrative or story solutions, but solutions driven by gameplay design, or driven by visual art, or driven by, a unique event, right? Bringing events into play. So we have so many entry points, so many storytelling possibilities that aren't just a bio or aren't just a narrative asset, but there, could be a bark that a player says in game. It could be a new map.
It is something that drives a lot of love for the different things going on. And again, what they do is very serious. Their counter-terrorist unit, like it is incredibly grim, but at the same time, you get these moments where it feels warm and you know, really engaging.
So was it you who decided that Deimos should be able to beat up Sam Fisher, or?
I can like bring you behind the curtain on that decision. So part of our brainstorm process was like, what's the coolest thing we could see Deimos do? And so we ended up where Deimos basically 1v3s Rainbow and then fights the most legendary character on our roster, you know, Sam Fisher, and is winning that fight. Yeah. So I think that's a pretty badass entrance for a character and really establishes that he's someone to be reckoned with.
Disappointing. Rainbow operators were harder to kill in my day.
One thing that kept coming up in our conversations was esports, as the Siege team works closely alongside the competitive scene, even using tournaments to drop the biggest reveals every year. This isn't how most games operate, but it's worked wonders for Siege and its biggest tournaments. The Six Invitational, or SI, draws thousands of fans, hundreds of thousands of viewers online, and millions of dollars in prize money to be won. The event serves as a reminder to players that they are part of a community, bringing a social dynamic to Siege that feels like it extends beyond the game.
From my perspective, I see it as like a living organism, and the pro players, esports, the teams are really at the core and really represent what it means pushing the game at its limit. That opens up a lot of opportunities. It means that the balancing team, you know, they have to work with pro players, they have to work with the teams, because ultimately it's the pro players that are going to break the game the most. The pro players are also some of the biggest advocators.
When the pros are up there on the stage and they're running, I'm taking notes, because I know, like, if they do something that is completely new or wild, I'm like, all right, that's hitting ranked in 6 months.
But the moment where the fire of telling amazing stories on Siege really like got huge inside my belly was the very first SI I attended was the last SI in Montreal, which is the SI where Deimos shoots Harry. So I was in the crowd, I was in the arena at the Bell Center in Laval, and I just remember like the vibe is great, people are excited for the upcoming game, they start rolling the asset, oh, there's Harry, you know, there's our operators. There's still like this really kind of high mood in the crowd, and then all of a sudden like the music hits. And you know, like people can kind of like, they feel the cue, they feel the music cue kind of like, oh, something's about to happen. Like the Bell Center quieted down, and then Deimos shoots Harry, and I swear to God, the whole stadium just went quiet.
I happen to find you exceedingly fucking boring.
Everybody just held their breath collectively, and it's that moment to me that popped.
And the stories I've heard, man, like about how they talk about how this game changed their life and stuff like that. And it's just like, it's a tremendous responsibility, but it's an honor to have it, to be able to continue to like grow that. And I think that's the thing, is like, if you look at what Siege is a really difficult game. It demands a lot of you, and you have literally all these players stepping up to that and saying, you know what, it's hard, but I'm going to do it. And they show that perseverance, and they show that. And in a lot of cases for them, that was their opportunity to persevere because of whatever personal stuff was going on. And yeah, I'm the emotional guy, so I'm not going to go any further than that. But like, it's, I think the Siege community is like, they're legends. Honestly, I think in a lot of ways, like, there are a lot of ridiculously passionate people because of how much they work to get to the level of either competence or play that they want to get to. And the dedication is, I mean, 10 years in, like, we wouldn't be here without them.
Coming up on Siege's 10th anniversary, you'd expect a celebration of the past, as most games tend to do. But instead, Ubisoft Montreal looked forward. You might think after all these years, Siege would follow the path of many games and get passed over by a sequel. But speaking to the team, that's something that's clearly not on the table. Instead, the team prepared work on an update called Siege X. Similar to how Operation Health helped get Siege through the past decade, the team wanted to do the work under the hood to prepare the game for the next 10 years, and prove their dedication to Siege's future.
Why not Siege 2? Honestly, there's tons of reasons against it, but for us, it's about maintaining something that has been successful and competitive and fun for such a long time. We see it where players kind of get the rug pulled out from under them and everything they've worked towards kind of changes in an instant when they jump over to a sequel. And that's something that we don't want to do to our players. So there's an element of respecting players' investment. There's also an element of like, this is an amazing legacy we're building. Why would we want to throw that away?
One of the big things for that was to show that we're not done taking chances and taking swings. Because at like 10 years in, you could expect a certain rhythm to drop where it's just like, okay, it's this, and that's exactly what we're going to expect. But it's like, no, we're not done exploring. We're not done pushing the limits of what Siege can be, and we're going to continue to do that. And Siege X was a really big opportunity for that.
It's a new opportunity to set down a new foundation for the game, but also look at how new players experience the game again. So how do you invest again into the onboarding experience? How do you make sure that players can jump in and feel like they're welcomed and they have all the tools they need to play? Siege X is just another one of those big moments where the game is building a more solid foundation.
But with grand plans of another decade and perhaps even more, a single question lingered. Will Siege ever run out of steam?
I think that is the question for any game anybody works on. What is the ceiling? We definitely haven't hit it yet on Siege.
But the reality is we have a laundry list of things we want to do already that will take us a significant amount of time to implement. But every vector that we put in, every little change up that comes in, it has a cascading effect. Like a new operator being introduced will revitalize multiple operators at the same time because of all their interactions. So this idea that as we add more parts into the system, that system expands, but also has a trickling effect and keeps everything fresh.
And even the community is very vocal in that, hey, there's still stuff we can do. There's stuff that we want to see. And for us, that's just reassurance that there's more to build on and there's more to do right now.
And that's ultimately really how we're able just to keep bringing new things online and continue to expand the strategic depth of the game, but just the overall systemic nature of it. I don't know if anyone else talked about this, but I think it was about a month ago now, maybe a month and a half, we finished our listening sessions with our entire team. So what we did was after the launch of Siege X, we sat down with literally every member of the Siege team and let them pitch whatever they wanted. Like everything they thought where this game should go, what's the next 10 years for you? What's the next year for you? Why is this game important to you? And go. And all the directors were to sit there and take notes and not say a word. And we literally did that entire process with every member of the team. It was a wild couple of weeks of meetings, but it gave us this ridiculous catalog of essentially ideas from the entire team. And a lot of it, you can see all the overlap between all the different disciplines. And again, it didn't matter what you did on the team, as long as you're passionate about Siege and you had ideas for it and how we can make it a better game, then you were there to present it. So this idea that will we run out? Absolutely not with a team like that.
Rainbow Six Siege has succeeded on the back of a perfect combination of factors: a tactical niche, consistent content updates, and a development team as passionate as its community. But there has to be something else, because if that's all it took, why have so many games failed where Siege succeeded? What's its secret? Why is this tactical shooter from Montreal so special?
I had the opportunity to try to answer this question for the studio and like to all my coworkers on all the different projects and stuff. And I'm going to use the same reference I did there, which was, Moana, the movie? Yeah. Yep. So this is, I know it's weird. You're like, where the hell is this guy going? But really it came down to this point where she's on the raft or whatever, and she's like thinking about her ancestors and stuff and like that. And she goes, I am Moana. She knows who she is. She knows where she came from. And I think that has always been the most important thing when we talk about Siege, is that Siege, we don't need to look in other people's backyards about where we need to go, because we have our own legacy to look at. We have the rainbows that came before. We have, and like our background, everything that Siege is built on is from right there. So we just have to look back and remember who we are and continue to build forward. This is why you see Gerald Morris coming out as Deimos. This is why you see Scopos coming online with Carrie. This is the kind of thing that is really, really, really important for us, because it's easy to get distracted and it's easy to kind of lose track of what it is of who you are. So you need to be very, very diligent about riding that line, because the reality is, like Siege is a hardcore tactical shooter. We've got one-shot headshot. It is incredibly punishing and it has a steep learning curve, and that's awesome. That is what Siege is. Like that is part of who we are, and it's important that we retain that. Yes, we can make things easier for folks to kind of jump in and start learning the ropes and stuff like this, but it's important to never let go of that, because that is where we came from.